Death by W.B. Yeats. Nor dread nor hope attend a dying animal. A man awaits his end, dreading and hoping all. Many times he died, many times rose again. A great man in his pride, confronting murderous men, casts derision upon supersession of breath. He knows death to the bone. Man has created death. My junior recital is this coming Wednesday, February 11th, at 7 p.m. in the Daniel Recital Hall here at Furman University. You should be there. I wanted to talk a little bit about the pieces I'll be playing. The first piece I will be playing is Mikhail Buchanik's Concert Etude No. 4. It is the fourth of 4 concert etudes written by him, probably for one of his many teaching jobs at an unknown date. Buchanik was born in 1872 in Ukraine, which was then part of Imperial Russia. His last teaching position was taken after the Russian Revolution as professor at the Conservatory in Kharkiv. In 1922, he immigrated to the United States and became an advocate for his native Ukrainian culture in the US. He died in 1947. The second piece I will be playing, and the piece that will take up most of this 40-minute long program, is Dmitri Shostakovich's First Cello Concerto. Dmitri Shostakovich was born in 1906 in St. Petersburg, Russia. Shostakovich survived revolutions, wars, most notably World War II. And while there is a lot of debate as to how much of his personal experience bleeds into his work, it is clear that none of his work exists in a bubble. There is an undercurrent of fear, of pain, that exists in various direct and indirect forms all throughout his work. This is a 4-movement concerto, so I'm going to start with the first movement. The first movement introduces the very famous theme of the entire concerto, which I can easily sum up to somebody by just going dun 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 dun. And while this feels like a really simple, a really bare bones kind of theme, I like to think of it as kind of an aborted march. Not to bring in a Tolkien reference, but the Lord of the Rings movies do a wonderful job at portraying what a shamble looks like. There's a particular scene in Two Towers which is quite good at portraying it, when they've got Merry and Pippin and they're taking the hobbits to Isengard, and there's this one orc that just really, really wants to eat them before they can get to Isengard. Whenever he walks up to the camera or walks up to the hobbits and starts talking, he's got like this off-kilter limp, and he does this head tilt thing that appears for a lot of like alien creatures in movies. I think that's a really good representation of kind of what this march feels like. This piece does not start on a downbeat. There are 4 quarter notes in a measure, there is a 1 quarter note rest. Dun 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 dun, dun 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 dun. Most marches start on 1, and so it feels very off. This theme is found all throughout the concerto, not just in the first movement, so be on the lookout for that as you listen through. Shadow Bride, from The Adventures of Tom Bombadil, Tales from the Perilous Realm, J.R.R. Tolkien. There was a man who dwelt alone, as day and night went past. He sat as still as carven stone, and yet no shadow cast. The white owls perched upon his head, beneath the winter moon. They wiped their beaks and thought him dead, under the stars of June. There came a lady clad in grey, in the twilight shining. One moment she would stand and stay, her hair with flowers entwining. He woke as he had sprung of stone, and broke the spell that bound him. He clasped her fast, both flesh and bone, and wrapped her shadow round him. There nevermore she walks her ways, by sun or moon or star. She dwells below, where neither days nor any nights there are. But once a year, when caverns yawn and hidden things awake, they dance together then till dawn, and a single shadow make. The second movement of this concerto is one of the more lyrical passages of Shostakovich ever. It's my favorite part of the concerto to play because I get to stop thinking about where my fingers are going and I get to start singing. Somehow the cello manages to have a remarkably vocal quality to it, even though I never really have to stop my sound to breathe. The third movement of Shostakovich's cello concerto is just a cadenza. It is numbered as its own movement, but it is a cadenza on the second movement theme, which brings back elements from that first movement shambling march. This movement is entirely devoid of piano accompaniment, which makes it one of the scariest parts to play, but it also makes it one of the most beautiful and haunting parts of the concerto. And then everything gets kind of crazy. It feels a little bit like the soloist has suddenly decided to wake up. The fourth movement is a gallop, in the same vein of the gallop from Orpheus in the Underworld, in the same vein as many of Shostakovich's other works. The gallop always denotes some kind of violence, or some kind of horrifying satirical element. Brings back the theme from the first movement. It brings in another off-kilter waltz that just feels like a mockery at this point. Everything is going way too fast and is way too short to be anything romantic or beautiful, but there are still these elements of memory of a past time in this movement. The piece ends in a really strange way for a soloist. The point is basically for me to get covered, swallowed up by the orchestra, with this theme still playing in the background, just bang, 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 and there's nothing I can do about it. That's kind of the point. I find it necessary to talk a little bit about the way that we view this concerto. To me, as a cellist, as someone who has been a cellist for literally as long as I can remember, this has always been a piece that I will play one day. This has been a piece that I hear in the car, that I put on a playlist, and I listen through because I know that I need to know the orchestra part inside and out to play it. For an average audience member today, this is a traditional canonical piece of cello repertoire. But it is a lot more than just that. If we actually take a step back and we look at what this concerto originally was, if we look at its context, both personal and political, it becomes a much more serious work than just the headbanging concerto. It is a piece that is marked by so much pain and so much fear that even as we debate how much of Shostakovich's personal experience he put into his own work, it is evident that his environment did influence him. The piece is satirical and kind of disgusting at times in just the way that the cellist is supposed to play and how many sounds and motives are going on at once. The way in which it makes an utter mockery out of traditional forms, out of comfort, out of a break for the instrumentalist, is actually relevant to the way that we interpret this piece. I think it's really important, even now, and especially now, to remember that this piece and its composer lived through and were born into times marked by incredible violence and the violation of human dignity. That's important. It's important that we not wipe the slate clean of the fear that underlies this concerto's creation and performance. And it's also our job as viewers, as we recognize that, to leave the concert hall thinking about our own situation, our own environment, and how we ensure that this does not happen for anyone.